The Doctor Who Alhambra Podcast. Real Doctor Who fans with real Doctor Who opinions.
Hello and welcome to the Doctor Who Alhambra Podcast, your go-to podcast for the latest Doctor Who news, Big Finish, and Doctor Who reviews and deep dives into the Whoniverse. In this episode, I'm going to be looking at the latest Doctor Who news and Big Finish releases or future announced releases. And then I'm going to take a look at the Fugitive Doctor's release that has been, I'm going to say, a hit and kind of a miss. So grab your sonic screwdrivers, set the TARDIS coordinates, and join us as we go on a journey through time, space, and all things Doctor Who. Wow. All right. There we are. Well, with that being said, welcome to the Doctor Who Alhambra Podcast. I've already done that, but yeah. This episode is going to be kind of specific to the Fugitive Doctor, but it's not going to just, begin and end with the Fugitive Doctor. I think there's a lot of things that we do need to discuss and talk about. First thing, oh my gosh, Flash Sale Drama Showcase. They are just trying to purge that from everything. Sorry, just the slider from the Big Finish website that caught my eye, kind of, sort of. So, yeah, with that being said, I am going to be looking at some of the latest news as well as some things that I'm kind of really excited for going forward. And again, a lot of this is going to be discussing the Joe Martin Fugitive Doctor because I don't think this is a perfect situation or perfect audio as I think some would like to hope for, but it also brings a whole bunch of other questions that I'd like to bring up and would love to hear from you, the listener. So you can, if you're listening to this on YouTube, you can leave a comment. I will get those. You can email the show at alhambraaudio@gmail.com, or you can tweet the show at Alhambra Podcast. DMs are open. So with that, yeah. I'm going to be taking my first look at basically some of the Big Finish news. I want to get some Big Finish news out of the way because I think some of this is quite interesting. The first thing we do have is we finally have confirmation of the Sixth Doctor adventures that are going to be released in May. And we have Colin Baker obviously reprising his role as the Sixth Doctor. We have Miranda Reason as Mrs. Clark, and we have Katie Manning, who most likely, according to, have they said it? Yep, Iris Wildtime. So we finally get Paul Mars, who created Iris back in a story called Key to Many Worlds, which it begins with the Doctor and Constance arriving in 13th century Baghdad, where they meet an aging Marco Polo, played by Terry Malloy. His adventures at the end, the legendary traveler has a task. There's tasked with transporting a certain enchantress back to Venice, but Iris Wildtime doesn't take well to being kept prisoner, and so performs her greatest trick yet. She swaps bodies with. Oh no! Oh, we're parent trapping this. Or sorry, we're Freaky Fridaying this sucker. All right. Okay. Sure, why not? The second story. So it sounds like that's a 3-part. Is that what that is? Oh no, so it's 3 1 hour. Oh, great. Yeah, that's even better. Ah, wow. I hate the 1 hour releases for the classic Doctors. So we have The Story Demon by Julian Richards, The Key to Many Worlds, which is Paul Mars, which is the Iris Wildtime, and then we have Inconsistency by Harry Potter. Harry Potter. Whoops. By Ian Potter. According to the Big Finish website, the second box set adventures, the title will follow eventually later in 2025, but both can be pre-ordered for just the low price of £47 if you want to get the 1500 one of the 1500 collector's edition box set that will never be reprinted until it does. The interesting thing about the cover art is you have the Sixth Doctor holding a book, which it reads "Monsters from Outer Space." You have a Dalek with its case sliding off, and the Dalek squid kind of coming out of it. Iris Wildtime there, Constance Clark there, and then you have like this deer man person in the background. So yeah, um, I pre-ordered a lot of stuff for 2025. This is not one of them because I could not be certain that we were not going to have the worst companion ever written, which is oh, what's her name? Phoebe? No, not Phoebe. Anyway, oh, what's her face? Oh, if I cared, I'd figure it out, but I don't. Anyway, the worst companion, not Thomas Brewster. Thomas Brewster, you are forgiven. You are not the worst companion. Colin Baker does have the worst companion also, but that's besides the point. Interesting thing that also came up on Twitter on February 6th, Chris Chapman took his picture and uploaded it on to Twitter, and it said, "A lovely Big Finish day has been had." The picture was taken obviously in a sound studio. It looks, you could definitely tell in the background there is the audio mixing equipment and whatnot. There's some speakers and some monitors, but what he has pictured is um, a script, the first page of a script that says warning, spoilers, warning with a construction sign, exclamation mark or whatnot. And then it says, we have marketing and publicly planned, we have marketing and publicity plans in place to promote blank story. It is therefore really important that the details do not probably whatever. So we have a spoilerific story that is being, that Chris Chapman is holding in one of the rooms. I'm going to guess, the production room. And that's all we got. But you know what? That is enough to drive some speculations. So I'm sitting there thinking, what could be possibly, um, and the thing that would annoy me the most is if that picture just ended up being just some average standard script or whatnot. I think it would just, it's like, oh, you all right, well, like I feel as though that picture basically isn't in kind of teasing the idea of a big future plot line going forward within Big Finish, and I think that would be fantastic. But at the same exact time, I I'm just waiting for it just to be, oh yeah, it's just my script that I wrote, and they were going to put it on the Big Finish news page. And yes, um, I would love it. Here's what I would love. This is my wish list of what that is. I'd love it if it would be an adaptation of one of the Target or Virgin novelization, not the Target, the Virgin novelizations, or even some of the BBC book ranges from the Wilderness years. That would be, number one on my list. Number two would be if it was another, yet again, lost story that would come out. I would really appreciate that. If it's just, The Fugitive Doctor Volume 2, I would be not impressed with it at all. Speaking of such, looks like we already got the next installment of The Fugitive Doctor Flies Again. According to this, on February 5th, it says Joe Martin and Alice Craig, star of The Fugitive Doctor Dead or Alive, a brilliant box set of full cast audio dramas due in July 2025 from Big Finish Production. You have 3 stories: Flying Solo by Taharne Singh Hayer. I've never heard of that writer. I'm going to just click to see what they have done. They did one of the Brave New Worlds visitants, it looks like, according to this file. Interesting. They did this story called Frequency. Wonder what that would got on the timescales. Then you have The Junkyard Loop by Aaron Douglas. Oh, yet again, another name I've not seen. And this person, the only other thing that they have written is a story in the Robots 5 box set, The Enchantment by Aaron Douglas. Let's see. Is there anything? Nope, I haven't. One of these days, I'm going to get around to listening to the last 2. I might have to re-listen to all of them. I'm not going to really listen to the first one. I do remember quite well what the first one was. And the last one is Hereafter by Tim Foley. So out of 3 stories, I've heard of one of the writers. And again, as always, if you'd like to get the collector's edition CD, they have strictly limited to 1,000 copies, never to be repressed again until it is. Yeah, so that's kind of interesting for that. I think that is really all the, let's see, was it 10 years of Tim Treloar's Third Doctor? It really has? What? Says, so on the 4th of February, it says, taking over the role for the iconic character is a difficult task. Tim Treloar has made it easy with his acclaimed audio portrayal of the Third Doctor, as originally played on TV by John Pertwee. After a small role at Light of the End, blah, blah, blah. Daisy Ashford, who plays Liz Shaw, working with Tim is exciting, invigorating, blah, blah, blah. John Coleshaw, who voices the Brig, blah. Nick Briggs, director and voice of the Daleks, says other stuff. And, so I guess this is just them trying to get you to another way to pre-order the Third Doctor release as Doctor Who and the Brain Drain. The is it the yeah the let's see, the first of the bundle, the second one, title yet to be named. I like that title. I hope it gets named. It deserves to be named. That would be fantastic if it got named. And so, yeah, I believe that's all the news there. I am very interested regarding the Chris Chapman's um, picture, but again, I don't think we'll either find out or we won't. And by we won't, it'll just be a standard release that nobody really is like oohing and ahhing for. So, all right. So now for the main focus of this podcast, which is going to be looking at the first release of the Fugitive Doctor, which was done in January of 2025. Now, I did not purchase this because I even said way, way, way long ago before they did the price hike for the UK, not the UK, the US listener, as they, the Big Finish had set their prices. If it was £19.99, it would be $19.99 there. Obviously, not 1-to-1, but that was them, and they adjusted accordingly. And it has taken me back, and I've been a little bit more fussier with that because again, you buy about buy 2 or 3 of those, and that difference for me is the price of an other audio, which again makes sense. Not throwing shade, just FYI. But I did not pick up the Fugitive Doctor, the 4 box set pre-order way, way, way a long time ago when it was announced and released because, I just couldn't do it. Chris Chibnall has forever not improved Doctor Who. And in creating the Timeless Child and creating the Fugitive Doctor, I think the Fugitive Doctor, for me personally, and I think for a lot of people, is going to be one of those messy situations where things are not settled and it's always going to be polarizing. One of the most interesting things that I saw around the time that I saw Chris Chapman's picture is there somebody posted a poll. Now, I do love a good poll. I love stats and whatnot, but this is interesting. And I will say, I think that this poll is not precisely accurate, but because of, maybe just because people who don't agree with certain people on Twitter decide to block or mute other people because it's safer to live in your own echo chamber rather than go out and hear other people's thoughts and feelings about everything. And so, maybe this person has tweeted something offensive, and then people have been blocked and whatnot. Anyway, but this person on Twitter posed the question: Doctor Who is, and they gave dates 1963 to 1989. So all the way up to season 26. Then you have 1963 to 1996, which incorporates the TV movie. And then you have 1963 to 2017, which leads us to the regeneration of the 12th Doctor to the 13th Doctor. And then you have 1963 to present. Now, I think the people that follow this person and the people that, and I don't believe I follow this person. I just um, was searching the words. No, I don't. I was just, looking for the words Doctor Who, and this poll, I found it and I bookmarked it. So it's quite interesting to see what these results are. And I think this kind of goes into people easily jumping on board the Sasha Dwan Call Me Master series, as well as the Joe Martin Fugitive Doctor series, as well as the future 13th Doctor series that is going to be starting up in a couple of months. And these are the results of the poll. So the most popular result, with 46.7% of Doctor Who fans who responded to this, said 1963 to 2017. So their canon draws an end when the 12th Doctor regenerated. And you know what? That is their opinion. It is perfectly fine. That is their opinion. The next most popular one is, and I would actually give this one more. I'm actually fine with the second one more than I am with most of these others. And that is, well, I think that there's two that are fine. And I think the second one is the one that I'm the most fine with, and that is 1963 to 1989. Granted, I am ignoring the TV movie, and that might basically uncanonize the Eighth Doctor, which the Eighth Doctor in Big Finish audio is just fantastic. Again, him and Charlotte Pollard, best 1-2 punch besides the Sixth Doctor and Evelyn Smythe. But I think if you're going to be super gatekeepy with your canon, I believe that 1963 to 1989 is where you should be gatekeeping. With the only exception is the next one, which is 1963 to present, which got 16.4% of the vote. I think, for better or for worse, I think you can carve out certain things that occurred or did not occur during the Chibnall era that I think you could just kind of continue to accept present stuff, but also not at the same exact time. And the last one, the one that came in last with 10.9%, was 1963 to 1996. So again, from the very Unearthly Child to the TV movie, and then they were done. So, and I disagree with that one, I think, the most. Anyway, and so I'm kind of curious about that poll results as well as the Fugitive Doctor release. That I did listen to half of the free release that they did, that I subscribed to, the free excerpt of Fast Times. And at one point in time, I was going to do a breakdown of that, kind of almost doing an EFAP situation. But again, I don't want to tread on Big Finish's toes. I think people should be able to listen to it for themselves. Again, all you really have to do is subscribe to their newsletter, create a Big Finish account if you're just kind of curious, and then you'll be able to download it to your device or whatnot, or you can download it to your computer and listen to it. But it is a 22-minute, uh, the first 22 minutes of the Fast Times storyline, which was written by, was it Robert Valentine? Yeah, Robert Valentine. And the synopsis for it is: when the mysterious division tries to arrest their equally mysterious agent, the Doctor, she evades capture and heads out in search of answers. But trouble is never far behind. Captured by bounty hunters and imprisoned in a maximum security Hulk ship, the Doctor is about to learn that there is no time to stand still when you're a fugitive, and times are about to get very fast indeed. So it's a really good synopsis for the whole thing. You have Joe Martin as the Doctor, Alice Krige as Cosmogon, Nick Briggs as the Daleks, and Lee Harvey as Fade, according to the cast and crew. Now, I am very interested to see what if we've already gotten any reviews. We don't have any reviews on the Big Finish site. Interestingly, though, according to the Big Finish site, this title has already sold out on CD. So the 1500 available is gone. You can only get it for download only. So those of you that are really clamoring for Fugitive Doctor stuff, pre-ordering the CD might be the thing that you go to. Interestingly, I'm just curious. It hasn't the free excerpt that I'm going to, and that will be a future one. The Call Me Master, featuring Sasha Tuan as a master, is available. I have not downloaded that yet. I will take a look at it, but I'm curious. Call Me Master. Is there? So currently, Call Me Master featuring Sasha Tuan, the limited release of um, DVDs, it is not sold out at this time. So, and oh, whoa, just one second. Okay. So backstage on Call Me Master, this is interesting. I have not seen this before. I'm gonna actually go to backstage. Okay. So this is interesting because oftentimes with backstage, they have press photos and whatnot of everything. Uh, However, oh, and also dates of recording. And so this one, interestingly, the date of recording is the 4th, the 9th, and the 11th of January 2023, which is quite interesting because around that time, somebody said that they saw Joe Martin and Peter Davison being caught in the BBC or the Big Finish Productions parking garage area at that time. So I find that quite interesting, first off. Second, normally this backstage, like I said, just has pictures of them posing around the probably front of the building. I've only seen one, with the Big Finish lunch, which, one of these days they just need to have, backstage and just a picture of just the lunch. And yeah, because of just I think they've done away with the lunch though since COVID, but, anyway, they should just do that just for funsies. But, yeah, so normally they do that for the backstage, but with this one, we have, people, cast and crew kind of giving, a couple of, lines of, reflectiveness revolving the situation. So, Interestingly, and I didn't know this exists, I'm gonna have to kind of peel back the layers on some of these and just check to see what some of them are saying about previously recorded stuff, because I just thought that was just a no-go for a long time. So Joe Martin said, Doing these audios has been super fun. There wasn't enough time in the TV episode. No, because it was a shoddy writer. To see all the different sides of the Fugitive Doctor. Still holding my breath that it's not going to be a Fugitive Doctor, but and somehow we get this as a master or something like that. But we're probably not going to do that, because in doing so, it would cause a big upheaval, which I think would be fun personally. This is not Joe Martin talking. This is me. I think I think throwing a wrench in the gears of the fandom like that, after and because Big Finish has done this, I think they would have to be kind of in the know of what's going on so that they could maybe weave little things here and there to, if it was the end up being the Ronnie or something like that, or if it was Susan, that would be even more. I wonder what people would think more of if the Fugitive Doctor was Susan, a future incarnation of Susan. And I think Liam has said a couple times that Susan doesn't have any more regenerations and stuff like that, but that'd be quite interesting. I'd actually, I sign me up for that. Even sign me up for have the Fugitive Doctor be another version of River Song. Like, mm, I'd be fine with that too, because of the personality. Anyway, Joe Martin says she's gung ho, but there's a softer side to her. With these episodes, the listener will hear her vulnerability, her kindness, and her loyalties. She's a lone wolf that can't be easy. Going from TV show to audio, it's a bit more pressure because I haven't got Jodie there. It's all on me. On the first day, I could feel my heart fluttering, but I thought, Joe, you've been in this game 100 years, kid. I've acquired a few skills to get me through. The stories are fun on. There isn't a second to catch your breath. There is uh, int- an intimate moments here and there, but basically it's just go, go, go. It's what I want in an action show that features the Doctor. And that's the beautiful thing I get to deal with, like the Daleks. All right, so she's very excited about that, and I will tell you, the excerpt that I saw or listened to the first 11 minutes of the free excerpt, you you could definitely tell that she has really made massive improvements compared to the Once and Future spot that she did, because the Union, the Once and Future, I did not care for really one bit. I felt as though for the longest time it was wooden. It was just talking to a microphone, and it was, to me, not captivating at all. Maybe it's because also the story was, the not the Union, the final act, the coda. Union was the other one. But I think perhaps some of the other interestingly, according to this, the Once and Future coda was actually recorded second. This was recorded on the 1st of February, 2023. Interesting. I would have guessed, just judging by the voice acting by Joe Martin, that that the Fugitive Doctor would have been the second thing, because to me she sounded more relaxed in the 11 minutes of the excerpt that I listened to, compared to the coda, where it was very wooden and it was very, like I've described with Christopher Eccleston when we first listened to the first couple of box sets, is he is a great actor by himself, but when he was acting with somebody in another room, or maybe if they were recording different location wise, it felt as though he was being fed their lines and reacting to their lines, instead of an actor responding to somebody speaking their actual lines. And that's what I really found really jarring about the whole situation. So all right, so I'm going to go back to um the Fugitive Doctor to see what they have said regarding backstage stuff. So after that, we have co-star Colin. That isn't even close. Alice Craig. She says Cosmogon starts off very, very tough and takes her job very, very seriously. And though through the course of these stories, we reveal more about herself, it was a lovely challenge and a lovely opportunity. And Joe's brilliant. She's totally engaged and wonderful to work with. Okay. And producers David Richardson said, it was an absolute treat to work with the Fugitive Doctor. She is such a brilliant head turning, just made a couple words up right there. The Fugitive Doctor is such a brilliant head turning twist in an amazing long run show we all love. The script editor Robert Valentine and I had such much fun plans making. 13th Doctor showrunner Chris Chibnall very generously gave up his time and met with all right. Um sure. Gave up his time. Mhm. At the time that he needed to get back and in communication with his sons as they were getting ready to go to university, because that's the reason why he left as showrunner, because he always had planned to do 3 until it was, actually 5 years, but he did only plan 3 because it was never announced that it was 3 until it wasn't. And he has a lot of time because he needs to be spending time as his sons are going through their A levels or something like that. Even though, according to what I've heard from Liam, and that is like, what is he going to do? Just cheerlead off to the side. And I think he's also working on a show himself too. So yeah. Anyway, the return. Uh, The 13th Doctor showrunner Chris Chibnall very generously gave up his time and met with us on Zoom while we threw around ideas, and he gave us some clarification about his most ign- I will not be able to pronounce that word, enigmatic era of um that's how you would describe that. Not divisive, um not poorly written, enigmatic. I think I said it. Um We came out of that meeting elated, full of purpose, and very confused, probably. Um, Probably a feeling of immense laziness. He kept on wanting to talk about Broadchurch. We couldn't get him to talk about Doctor Who, but man, he just kept on talking about Broadchurch, especially season 1. Um, we came out of that meeting elated, full of purpose, and sure of yeah, sure of your direction. Uh-huh. Y The person who took the consciousness of everything that was revealed to the 13th Doctor and then dropped it in the center of the TARDIS so it could be somebody else's job to kind of unwind and untwist and maybe make clarifications on. Yes, I'm pretty sure that person really had a good idea, who was very enigmatic and clarified a lot of stuff and put him on a good direction. I'm pretty sure that that occurred. Like, anyway, David Richardson continues. I was not expecting to make fun of Chris Chibnall in this podcast. Um, David Richardson continues and said, Chris told us that Joe was fantastic and a gorgeous person to work with. And he absolutely was right, of course. She came into the studio full of joy for the part, always smiling, always brilliant and charismatic. The Fugitive Doctor now has her own series until it's not the Fugitive Doctor. Come on. And as the saying goes, it's all about time. All right. I think I'm gonna do the Sasha Dwan backstage one when it comes to me reviewing the free excerpt that I will be downloading and doing stuff on um, when that occurs. So yeah. Anyway, thoughts on the um, Fugitive Doctor. So interestingly, we've got some reviews on the timescales. Okay, actually, before I do that, I'm just going to talk about why I only listened to 11 minutes of a 22-minute free excerpt, and that was from the very moment that it starts. It is very engaging. I thought it was very well done. The theme song, I've heard some complaints about the theme song. It's something that they didn't want to remember from an era that nobody liked and whatnot. And you know what? That is their prerogative to believe or feel. I'm not going to tell anybody feel differently. Um, a, a post theme song, you had the fugitive doctor being captured and jailed or whatnot on a prison ship. And here is my biggest problem with The Fugitive Doctor and why I stopped listening to it. Because again, the acting on this one by Joe Martin was so much better than the final act coda. And I feel as though she is doing a fantastic job in the role. But I stopped listening to it because as I was listening to it, the Timeless Child really put the damper on everything. I can listen to the classic series and wonder because of, like, that whole, I think for me, in my mind, 2 canons are coexisting at the same exact time. I think it's 1963 all the way to 1989, and the other one is 1963 all the way to present. I think both of those canons constantly are in flux in my head. Oh, crap. Stupid chip. That's probably why you titled that the season "The Flux," isn't it? Interesting. Anyway, so those are constantly going back and forth in my head as we are, I'm watching Doctor Who, listening to Doctor Who, and I feel as though because of the classic era kind of being almost, in a self-contained bubble to some extent, I feel as though I don't have any leakage of The Timeless Child coming in there and or The Fugitive Doctor. With the 1963 to, present day canon, you do have that because, again, this makes any peril that the Fugitive Doctor and again, this is so silly. Mary Whitehouse's, worry about the 4th Doctor being drowned in, um, The Deadly Assassin was ridiculous. You're not gonna kill the title character in the show. Now, I can also see that, she wanted to protect children. She did not want them either to A, mimic or B and I think she wasn't even worried about the mimicking part. I think it was the whole, like, you know, your favorite character in peril, and this would cause, like, anxiety and stuff like that, which I again, if you know kids, they are very resilient. They're not they're not dumb. As a teacher of, you know, I have taught 7 all the way up to 12-year-olds. They are not dumb. Teenagers start losing their brains, and then adults can be dumb, but, kids are very resilient and are very capable and very smart, and, are, I think, very underestimated. Anyway, um, yeah, so I stopped listening, so you have that whole situation right there, and I stopped listening to it because, again, The Timeless Child puts a damper on the whole situation. You have, what do I wanna say? What do I want? Where's my brain going? Um, you have a situation where the doctor's in peril and it's okay because she's the timeless child. You also have a situation where, maybe maybe, according to David Richardson, maybe there's more clarity on where she fits in. Now, I do think that she could fit in between the second and third Doctor. I think that makes more sense because of the police box being a TARDIS or whatnot. She cannot be a pre-Hartnell Doctor because that is ridiculous. Does not make any sense whatsoever, unless it was. Oh, wow, my brain just came up with a situation. Unless she'd already been to Earth in a future incarnations before the Hartnell Doctor, she was also in a time era where they had police boxes. For some reason, the TARDIS really fancies being a police box, and it was only able to get out of that because of some division trickery and put a wire here, did that right there, and it turned back into a chameleon circuit so that the first Doctor and Susan could go on adventures. And they're at their point in time when they landed in whatever in the Unearthly Child, it was just like, oh hey, I get to be the police box again, and it short circuited. At which point in time, it stayed that way because it was fun, and the TARDIS really appreciates being a police call box. Because I guess the TARDIS sees itself as a police, a ambulance, a fire truck or something like that that is plowing its way to emergencies and dire situations. Who knows? I just made that up. But that would be the only way that you could possibly ever, if you look real wonky at Chris Chibnall's script, cross your eyes and then poke one of them, maybe that's what he had intended. Anyway, so the Timeless Child, I believe, really makes it really hard for me to listen to this. The uncertainty of where the Fugitive Doctor lies is also because, at least with the War Doctor, you have a thing where he is placed between the 8th and the 9th. On the time scales, they have the Fugitive Doctor put in between. This could work, kind of, but they put her between Peter Capaldi and Jodie Whittaker. Okay. All right. Sure. Uh, why not? That makes his that actually that makes a lot more sense than my weird rationale of how you could put her before the William Hartnell Doctor. But yeah. Anyway, this is so stupid. And so that's why I stopped watching it, is because it there's so much uncertainty. There's so much things that I'm not pleased with revolving around the new series. And RTD Part 2 still has not won me over. The writers I still have for season 2, a lot of questions. I'm not sure if I will be watching them day and date. I don't even have a Disney Plus account anymore. I used to have one for $1.99 a month during Black Friday, and I was just like, I forgot about Doctor Who being a thing. And so I didn't even bother re-upping for, $2 a month on Disney Plus. So yeah. Interestingly, on the timescales, the first story, Fast Times, by Robert Valentine, has an average rating of 7.5, and that's pretty good. The next story, The Legend of Baba Yaga, has an average rating of 6.3, and the last story, The Dimension of Lost Things, has an average rating of 5.3. So it started off strong, and it then just kind of slowly seems to be withering and dying. Now, I do have a couple of things that I'm looking for on. Um, so Big Finish Productions post on Facebook on the 7th of February. They put, spiritually speaking, it almost feels like a reboot in the best sense possible. We haven't had a Doctor that feels this free of continuity since Chris Eccleston, and it generally feels refreshing as a result. So that is what I think that is actually a quote from DoctorWhoWatch.com that Big Finish highlighted on their Facebook page. And some people are complaining about, you got some real man babies in the replies. Yeah, free of continuity. That's how we are wording it now. But it's still not Doctor and definitely not most wanted. And then you have some people, she's not, let's see. No, it's not canon. It's fanboy fantasy. That's interesting. So those are, there's been lots of deletions of, people have personally deleted their own comment. I wonder if they just got, took their toys out the pram and whatnot. Nothing like abandoning continuity on a 60-year-old franchise. Not the Doctor, maybe Doctor whatever, according to this. It's just a pity the print runs so small. I wouldn't be buying the series now because the scalpers have struck again. What? Consider a small increase in CD pressings. Oh, so this guy wants to only own it in CD, and he's not going to buy it because, wow, interesting. We all hate this. This is without a doubt the best of times. It was a regeneration of energy. So we did get a couple of them. A lot of people have actually deleted their tweet or their post. That's fascinating. So the article, which Big Finish connected to and whatnot, discusses that this is a spiritual reboot, and it's exploring the Time War and even going. Big Finish has explored the Time War and giving the Sixth Doctor a satisfying final adventure, and the Seventh Doctor with a mediocre one, or one that anyway. They say that this is a strong start with Robert Valentine's story. It slows down with the Legend of Baba Yaga. And then it says the final episode by Lisa McMullins. Things get a bit strange as the Doctor tries to escape Cosmo by heading into a bizarre dimension. She meets several distinctive characters, blah, blah, blah. But they just say how fantastic it is to listen to Joe Martin. And the new audio series expands on that, presenting with a very different kind of Doctor, one that's more reluctant to get involved and doesn't trust easily, which is again interesting. I I think this Doctor cannot. I think I kind of like where it was placed on the timescales, because I would love it if she got pulled out of her own continuity at one point in time. Oh crap. Hmm. Then there's going to be a whole regeneration thing, and that's going to be the sloppy part. Again, it makes more sense between the second and the third, but again, we have season 6B that is fun, and in doing so would make things less fun. We do have or RTD's by regeneration crap that I don't like one bit whatsoever. I think there's a lot of mess, really. Last thing I'm going to bring up, revolving around Joe Martin and the Fugitive Doctor, is this. Liam sent this to me. This is from Doctor Who it's DoctorWhoTV.co.uk. It was released on the 30th of January, 2025. It says Joe Martin was officially told her Doctor Who incarnation is the real first Doctor. That is what it's entitled. So the article says, ever since Joe Martin's Fugitive Doctor was unveiled in Doctor Who back in 2020, fans have wondered where exactly her incarnation fits within Doctor Who. Speaking about her role in the latest Doctor Who magazine, Martin acknowledged the ambiguity surrounding her character's place in the show's mythology. She says, I think a lot of fans are really hung up on that. Yes, you are correct. Quite a few want to know, where in the canon do I come? Yes, because nerds who like the Doctor Who is an interesting situation, because it was a community of fans, kind of nerds, for many, many years. And then you have the tail end of the Tennant era, and then the series 5 of the Matt Smith era, where it bridged from nerddom into pop cultureness. And I think it's I think it should have never come out of the cultureness for writing style, and I think that's kind of where Chris Chibnall went with his take, and what Stephen Moffat did near the very end of his run is he was so aware that his Doctor Who was pop culture that he wrote not a show for fans, he wrote a show for pop culture with the current generation in mind. Now that's, I think, both a positive and negative because positively, you get more money, you get more revenue, you get bigger budgets, you're able to do grander things. The downside of it is you're trouncing on canon and continuity and altering things that the fans that kept you there for the longest time aren't going to necessarily like. And again, I think that that's where Big Finish is going to have a struggle with the Fugitive Doctor is it is so polarizing. Sash Dhawan's Master is so polarizing and the 13th Doctor is so polarizing that I am going to be quite interested to see the initial reaction from the 13th Doctor's first audio monthly release and see what fans think of that. Let's see. So again, she continues. I think a lot of fans are really hung up on that. Quite a few want to know where in the canon do I come? They'll come and ask me on a train. I I'm like, listen, you'll have to ask Mr. Chibnall. He doesn't know because I didn't write this. Martin's incarnation of the Doctor was, of course, first introduced during the Jodie Whittaker era as part of the controversial. I'm glad that you said that Doctor Who TV. Timeless Child storyline, which massively complicates the Time Lord's origins and puts it to put it lightly. Yeah, some fans assume that her character predated William Hartnell. The former showrunner Chris Chibnall has remained deliberately vague about the details. Now the actress shares a surprising revelation. She was originally briefed that she is the actual first incarnation of the Doctor. Step aside, William Hartnell. Ooh, if that's what she was briefed on, Chris Chibnall, you better. I would move into witness protection. You are going to have not a lot of Doctor Who fans happy with that. Martin said, "All I know is that when I took the job and they gave it, and they were gave, blah, blah, blah. All I know is that when I took the job and they were trying to explain my doctor to me, I was told how it was going to work. That I was the first doctor, so I was like, okay." So that's the end of the mystery. Or is it? Martin's reflection on the opportunity to expand the character beyond her brief appearance on television in the latest audio tales says it's lovely because we can dive a bit deeper. On TV, she seemed very decisive, very strong. She's fearless and she has no hesitation. Whereas in the Big Finish audios, because we've got more time, we see many sides of her. Fans will have to wait to see if the TV series ever returns the Fugitive Doctor to a story. But if Joe Martin is the real first Doctor, who knows what this means for the numbering, as if it wasn't messy enough. Yeah. And that's kind of an interesting situation because I do want to bring up one final thing before I conclude this podcast. One of the other situations that I saw on Twitter when I found the whole rumor. Let's see, I'm going to unbookmark that. Let's see, was that somebody came in and he was, where is it? Oh, did I unbookmark the wrong one? Anyway, he basically said that he had heard a rumor that, well, first off, I didn't like how it was worded too. He said that he'd heard a rumor that Joe Martin's coming back. Now, I'm not sure if he was told that Big Finish was a thing, if he didn't know. According to his profile, he's a 23-year-old, so who's to say what he knows and what he doesn't know? He's a new series fan, and he might not be up on all the canon continuity. He might just be along for the pop culture ride or whatnot. So with that, I'm taking that with a grain of salt. Yeah, I must have clicked the wrong one. But he also said that eventually I think people started talking to him about Big Finish, and he just said, yeah, but he hears, and this is from a 23-year-old, that Joe Martin is going to make an appearance in the new series. I don't think so, but you know what? That's just me. Anyway, that's my thoughts on the whole situation. What are yours? Please email the show, tweet the show, DM the show, like and subscribe wherever you listen to the podcast. You can leave a comment on the YouTube channel. And until next time, I will see you in time. You have been listening to the Doctor Who Alhambra Podcast. Doctor Who is owned and trademarked by the BBC. Doctor Who Alhambra is not affiliated with the BBC or Big Finish. No infringement is intended. Visit our website at alhambrapodcast.weebly.com or email the show at alhambraaudio@gmail.com. Tweet us at Alhambra Podcast. That is ALHAMBRA Podcast. Thank you.
It could have been a lot better. It could have been slightly better written.